Hi, readers, it's Lori. It's time for a cup of coffee, and let's talk about some big books. I like big books. I think I probably did a video called I Like Big Books and I Cannot Lie, and it's true, I do like them. And I've discovered that I'm not reading as many of them as I used to, and I think there's a couple of reasons here. Number one, I think there is some internal pressure on my part, nothing that's ever come from any of you, to read relevant books on BookTube and to read books that are, pretty good in number, high in number. I think there's a lot of times where I watch a BookTuber and they say, I read 15 books this month. And I'm just like, what? Like how? We all read at different paces, right? And big books do tend to require a pace that I am not always comfortable with personally. And so that's reason number two, I guess, is that I want to read all the books. There's something inside of me too that says I want to read 15 books this month or 10 books this month or whatever it might be. But I'm usually lucky if I get 5 to 8, and sometimes I've gotten less. And if I read a big book, it sometimes means it takes me a while. So there's that. There is a big book readathon that Sue Jackson puts on each year. And I did read a big book last year for that readathon, but I think I only read the one. I really want, though, to get some of these backlist books off my shelf, and some of these backlist books are pretty big. Some are older than others, but I have been really thinking about my reading goals this year. And while this is a bit of a spoiler alert, because I'm going to share, I guess, all of them at one time, that's the plan anyway. I do want to talk today about the big books that I would like to get to in 2025. And that does probably mean that I am going to read fewer books. So I am going to adjust my reading challenge to, and I know this sounds silly because I always exceed it, but I'm going to adjust it to probably 50 books in the year 2025, just because you never know. These might really, step into a space that eliminates my ability to read something else, but we'll see. But for today, I want to share with you some big books that I not only really want to read because they're big, but also because I've really wanted to read them and I haven't. So the first one I talked to you about recently, and that's Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. We have a plan for this. My partner and I are going to read a chapter a day, which is 365 chapters, which is how many chapters this big book is. And Lord have mercy, this is a big, big book. I feel like, I feel like she does, right? Like, oh my goodness, this is going to be a lot. I love this story. I've read a summary of it in school for a project I had to do. I did not read the whole thing. We did not have to. I didn't cheat, by the way. I wouldn't do that. That's not in my nature. But we were asked to read a summary of it because our teacher at the time knew that we were not going to, any of us, finish this. But I would like to read it a chapter a day. And so that's the plan. And I think I can get this done in 2025 as long as I stay on track, and I will. Because I will. I absolutely will. I also talked about this one recently. This was gifted to me by sweet Crystal in my book club, and Crystal picked a perfect choice for me. So this one is also on my list, not quite as big as Les Miserables. I did give you page numbers when we did this because I don't know if that's important to you, but I was curious about this. There are recipes in the back of this book. Isn't that something? 848 pages, it looks like. Yeah, that's going to be intense, right? So there's that one. So that's two on my list. Okay. This one is more recently purchased by me. This one is also in this sort of stack of recent purchases. Technically, next year this will be backlist, but this is All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. Lots of buzz around this one. Lots of people talking about this one. It is, I would say, a big book in my description of a big book. This is it. People do say that they get through this one really quickly. I think I'll get through 11/22/63 quickly too. This one with the acknowledgments is 595, so not quite 600 pages, but I do want to give this one a whirl because I'm hoping that the hype that is around this book is actually true for me as well, because sometimes the hype overwhelms, right? The next ones are loose ends for me. This was one of my most anticipated reads for 2023, I think, and I never got to it. And it's a loose end, but it's also not because it's a loose end that I want to read it. I want to read it because I want to read it. I bought it because I wanted to read it, and I just never got to it. So this is fantasy, which you know I sometimes struggle with. I love the synopsis of this on the front cover. It's very short. Bear with me. Evar has lived his whole life trapped within a vast library, older than empires and larger than cities. Levira has spent hers in a tiny settlement out on the dust where no one goes and nightmares stalk. The world has never noticed them. That's about to change. And the blurb on the back says, all books, no matter their binding, will fall to dust. The stories they carry may last longer. They may outlive the paper, the library, even the language in which they were first written. The greatest story can reach the stars. Gotta do it. Gotta get to it this year. Because I want to say I read that, and then I think there's already a sequel. Let me look, because I don't want to say something that's not true, but I'm pretty sure it is true. Yes, there is. The book that broke the world. Oh my God, these covers is the second in this series, which is called the Library Trilogy. So there will be a 3, I'm certain. This came out in April of this year. Apparently, I missed that. There's also a 1.5 Library Trilogy book called Overdue. Let me show you that, because this is all new to me. Look at that crow. Holy cow. So that makes me want to read it even more. So thank you for bearing with me, because I really wanted to do that. The next book is a book that I started this series in the late 90s. I know you're thinking, how slow can you go? But it's not just me. This author has only released them periodically. They came out faster in the beginning than they come out now, but I have not caught up with this, and there's a reason why I really want to. So this is Written in My Own Heart's Blood by Diana Gabaldon. My sister, the sister who passed away, recommended the first book in this series to me, called Outlander. Outlander is now a series on Stars as well. So that is important for you to know. I'll tell you why in a minute. Nevertheless, I was in a break from my studies at that moment. I was going to William Carey University here in Mississippi at that time. And I was on a break between trimesters, and I would always read when I was on a break between trimesters. And so I read Outlander, and I was like hooked. So I read the next book in the series, which I know the answer to, but let me not tell you the wrong thing. Dragonfly and Amber, then Voyager, then Drums of Autumn, then The Fiery Cross, and then A Breath of Snow and Ashes, and then An Echo in the Bone. I slowed down over the years, so I have not read them as quickly, and I have struggled with them more in the last few years because they got bigger and bigger and bigger. And this one it has a family tree in it now. That's how much there has been added to it. This one is over 800 pages, 822 with the author's notes. So I started this. I have it on audio. I have all of them on audio too on my Libro account, I think. I just haven't finished it, and I feel bad about that. But also, in addition to feeling bad about it as a loose end, we're watching the series on Stars now, and the series on Stars has come up to the place where I left off in this book. And I struggle with reading before watching as much as possible. That's my goal. I don't know that I can start this between now and the end of the year or the end of the series, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep watching the series. However, I do want to get back to this. The problem is, do I remember what's happened? And again, I think I'm farther than this in the audiobook, but I'm 255 pages in. I kind of remember what happened. Obviously, the series departs from some of the things that she wrote, but it's usually pretty fairly accurate in terms of the big kinds of things that are happening. So I would like to get to this one in 2025. And if I get to that one, there seems no reason why I could not just go ahead and get to the next one. This is the last one that is currently published. Go Tell the Bees I'm Gone. And so I certainly don't want to get this one sitting on my shelf for years between now and the time the next one comes in, which goodness knows when that's going to be. But also the good news is there are summaries of these. So what I might do is try to find a summary that will get me to 255. And then if something happens and I get a little bit like I don't remember what happened. I mean, I could read the summary for all of them if I needed to, but there are certain ones that are going to stick in my mind forever. It's the more recent ones that I'm really struggling with. And I think a lot of people are, which is maybe the reason why her books are maybe not quite as popular as they used to be, I would say. For a while, they were almost like for adults what Harry Potter was for my, young teens at that time. People were like waiting with bated breath on the night that they were released. And maybe not quite as intensely as Harry Potter, but people were really, really like storming the shelves to get these. And then I think the bigger they got and the more distant they got from each other in publication date probably has challenged her in some ways in terms of sales and popularity, but they're still pretty popular, I would say. A lot of people I chat with say that they read this series too. So I do think that that's possible. Now I'm going to attempt to hold all of these up, which probably is not a good idea, but I'm going to do it anyway because, I live on the edge, right? I mean, this is going to cover me up. Picking two up at a time is quite something. Here we go. Those could hurt somebody. Like if a burglar came into my house and Les Mis was on my little table next to me so that I can get to it every day, I probably could take somebody out with Les Miserables. Just saying. Thanks for watching today, readers. Let me know what your relationship to big books is. Do you love them? Do you put them off? Do you read them voraciously? I know some of you do because I look at your Goodreads and your other things that you talk about books here and there. I notice what you're reading, and some of you have no fear around big books. I understand, but I just wonder like how you stay on track with them too. Let me know some of your favorite big books, because if I get in a sort of a space here where I just start to love them again, which I did used to do. I used to read a lot of big books when I wasn't setting goals and worrying about, even when I started setting Goodreads goals and I wasn't on BookTube, I was still trying to really like exceed that goal. Like there's this champion inside of me that has to win, right? Like has to get to the end of my own race, and that's kind of silly, but let me know what your relationship is, and let me know what big books you might be reading, and if any of these are on your radar or now they're on your radar, let me know that too. I suppose it's possible I could do a buddy read with somebody on one or two of these. No, am I up to that? That might feel like a lot of pressure. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all of your comments and your subscription to my channel. And if not, if you feel like doing that, I'd love to have you in this little community. And as always, happy reading. Bye.